Celluloid, and we're turning it into music and podcast for you.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of We Came from Celluloid. I'm Nicky P here, as always, with the illustrious Brian. How are you doing there today, good sir?
I'm great, Nick. Good to see you, sir. Hello.
So we ended last episode talking about 3 times you went and saw Superman for a variety of reasons. None of those reasons being that the movie was so good it warranted going back 3 times to see, but maybe it did.
Well, yeah, I like because I've got the Regal Unlimited movie pass. It's fun to get to go see things that I enjoy multiple times. But as far as that close together, no, that was just about different friend groups that had reached out for different occasions. My son was going to drive in because we have one of the only IMAX theaters in the state is like 10 minutes from my house. You know what I mean? He doesn't have one in Cincinnati. So he came out to see it in the special IMAX format. Connor from our band, I'm always inviting to go see movies, and he rarely takes me up on it, but had mentioned like a month back, he was like, oh, I definitely want to see Superman in IMAX, right? And then it was our friend James's birthday, and he wanted to see Superman in IMAX. So usually things only play for like a week or so in that format. If we're lucky, 2 weeks, but normally every Friday, something that week's release replaces last week's, and there's only the one screen. So they do tend to turn it over every week. So that's what leads to my sitting there on Friday afternoon. I went to like a Friday 3:40, a Sunday noon, and then Monday 3:40 a week ago. Yeah, that's true. James Gunn, right? I love Guardians. Even before I had the Regal Unlimited pass, I remember seeing Guardians of the Galaxy twice in theaters, paying full price to see it twice, just because I loved it.
Not my favorite James Gunn work. I go way back with James Gunn. For me, Slither may be one of the best horror comedies ever made. So that's where I come from. Guardians of the Galaxy was a fantastic movie. It's just all my concerns with the movie tend to be like just the filmmaking landscape that he exists in now is a kind of a crapshoot of stupid people with money not listening to their audiences. And so my fear is that there's just unnecessary politics overshadowing the filmmaking. Now, I feel like that's definitely not been the case with this movie, and even from the people that aren't huge fans of it. For once in a long time, it does feel like it's. Yeah, no, I just didn't like it. It's not that it's bad necessarily. It's just normal geek stuff. Like, oh, well, I thought that this was a stupid way to do that character and blah 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 blah. And it's kind of a little refreshing to hear normal geek responses as opposed to like just everything being so laden with politics when you're talking about movies and stuff.
No, it's interesting because on the one hand, long before the concerns that you're specifically talking about that are somewhat unique to this moment in time, I would make a case that not just movies, but books and stories in general have been a way of getting your fellow human beings to think about things in a different way. Stories are really powerful, right?
Oh no, absolutely. My complaint is that you would actually have people writing stories that would make you think about things as opposed to just smashing you over the head with poorly written euphemisms. Like, don't put Trump in every single thing that you make.
So where I'm going with that is to say that the James Gunn Superman feels very timely, but also timeless, right? It does feel like it is of the moment, but not in a remotely clumsy way, because he's a talented storyteller. I think James Gunn, my point is, James Gunn, like any other storyteller throughout history, has a point of view, right? And the dirty word for that can be agenda. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I don't always look at it through the lens of politics when I sit there and say that a storyteller trying to make a point isn't necessarily, you know what I mean, part of a movement just for that reason. You know what I mean? Just because their story is trying to make a point or share a point of view, that doesn't in and of itself make it political. This particular story, of course, is there's a lot of politics almost inherent in any Superman story because of who the character is in relation to the United States and as a representative of the United States. That shit's just baked in. But I don't feel like he made that the focus of the movie, and certainly not in a clumsy way. I've seen it done in a clumsy way. And again, it's not always even that I my feelings on the message somebody's trying to get across are neither here nor there when I'm turned off by clumsy fucking storytelling, right? Like,
Well, and that's why the example that I always come back to is season 2 of Jessica Jones
dude, that's
on
literally what was in my fucking head. But yes,
like,
proceed. Yes.
dude, I'm an old school dude. Like, so one of my favorite movies is Tank Girl with Lori Petty. I love watching little girls kick ass, as long as it makes sense for the story and it's well crafted. Jessica Jones, like, it took me out of it when I had to get a lecture about why I suck because I'm a man in the dialogue of the characters every 5 minutes. And it's like, I loved season 1 of Jessica Jones. I could not wait for season 2. And it was like worse than let down. It could have been a bad season. That happens. But it was like, I felt battered and abused, like trying to sit through the episodes. It's like this thing that I loved so much. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, but you're just a piece of shit. Why are you watching this? Go be a piece of shit somewhere else. We don't need you. And that's just what it felt like. And I guess that's for me where the politics becomes the problem. It's like, yeah, dude, everybody's had like political statements to be made and everything. Like, I make them all the fucking time in my storytelling, and probably in ways that people wouldn't expect me to make them, just given what we know about my politics. But when they destroy the storytelling, it's just frustrating. I think that's like nothing would be more, I guess, upfront in that world than like Doctor Who and what they did to the, I'll say, since they put Jodie Whittaker in as Doctor Who. Personally, I have nothing against the female Doctor Who. She was the wrong person to do it. I'm an Olivia Colman person. Would have loved to have seen that. But the Shooty Gatwa thing, like, they made, like, the showrunner made it a point to say, yeah, I'm doing this because fuck you. Like, he wanted to destroy. Like, he said so much within his interviews that, like, yeah, I just didn't want there to be that male person in there anymore. Fuck you. Deal with it.
Well, so you know, there's I'm tracking what you're saying, and I've literally had that sort of shared experience. But where I then stop from, I guess, wanting to feel too indignant about it is in the area of representation and things that are made for a certain audience, right? Whoever that audience may be, I feel like when I saw, to try to explain it, when I saw Black Panther and there were a lot of public figures, black men in particular, who were not only loving the movie as I loved the movie, but also bringing up this other notion that I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I hadn't quite thought of it that way, right? Like, the other notion being representation on screen and having a like heroic black male lead hero, superhero in that world. And and then thinking of by comparison, even in the 1980s and 90s when I'm growing up, I have my pick of guys to emulate. You know, if I'm a little kid on the playground and I want to emulate the people I'm seeing on TV, it's like, do I want to be Steven Seagal or Van Damme, or do I want to be Stallone or Bruce Willis? But it's like, they're all white dudes, you know, and they're all men, you know what I mean? Right. So I mentioned that to say I do want to have some sense.
But I mean, you're already imagining a world that didn't exist, Brian. They weren't all men. You're immediately getting rid of aliens if you say that. You're getting rid of a lot of things.
Dude, but that's to sit there and I watched Aliens, but like to point to the exception to the rule doesn't mean that it wasn't the rule.
I don't feel it was the exception at all. Like it's. I mean, first off, to really get it, you have to break everything down by numbers, and you have to break it down by the human psychology. Men and women do not watch movies for the same reasons. Like they have very different reasons. That's why we need to have the action hero for us. Not saying they can't make others, but we're the people that actually respect that. As far as yeah, I'm not against representation insofar as once again it makes sense as long as it's not ham-fisted and shoved in there because as someone with a black daughter, I don't want her watching shitty representation. I want her watching representation because they're good characters, they're good people, there's good message. I also am very much a product of the 90s, and whether or not they want to believe it, by and large, our generation gave up on the race thing. Like, we were forced back into it in our, 30s to giving a shit about it. Yes, there were racists that'll always exist no matter what. But by and large, millennials had kind of given up a shit about caring about race. Like, we were up for whatever. Everything growing up for us was multi-ethnic because they did it very, very deliberately. You got the Power Rangers, you've got your fucking Captain Planet. Like, there wasn't any organization that wasn't multi-ethnic for us.
No, but again, it's like I guess so. I have my own exceptions to the rule in terms of saying yes.
For the record, and I'm also going to put this one more thing. Let me say this is most of my heroes growing up were black because black people made all the best music as far as I was concerned. When I was an 8-year-old boy, I wanted to be in Boys to Men, and I was so sad that I couldn't because I wasn't black.
I love Boys to Men as well, but if you're being specific to movies, the example that popped into my head is I certainly had a Passenger 57 poster on my wall. I genuinely did. You know what I mean? Wesley Snipes, like I wasn't thinking of his blackness, you know what I mean? One way or the other, to your point. He was just, I loved movies like Die Hard. He was in a movie like Die Hard, which was Passenger 57. He was in Demolition Man. It was like, he's just a cool action star guy, right? But no, anyway,
It's like when you're watching Sinners and you see what's his name for the first time. Like, God damn, that man just oozes cool.
oh, the lead, yeah.
Michael B. Jordan,
Yes,
isn't that what it
yes,
was?
yes,
Like
yes.
in the same way he does it, Wesley Snipes in the '90s just oozed cool.
The first time I saw John David Washington in Black Klansman, I'm like, this guy's a fucking leading man. Like, he's amazing, you know? No, he's awesome. No, but anyway, just to finish.
You give him more of Adam Driver's roles, honestly.
To finish the thought succinctly, what I'll say is that certainly anybody testing out the waters, whether it's She-Hulk or Jessica Jones, and saying, I'm trying to staff a writer's room with female diverse voices or whatever, if that show finds an audience that embraces it and runs with it and it's successful and people love it, even if I don't, then I can just kind of let that go. You know what I mean? And just be like, okay, that's a shame because like you, I liked season 1 and I don't know, who took over or changed hands or what. But yeah, the existence of stuff in the world that I hear and go, this is just not for me. That quality doesn't make something bad in and of itself, but bad exposition makes something bad. You know what I mean? Yes.
It's when nobody watches your show because it was a bad idea in the first place, hence She-Hulk. Nobody wanted the show. Someone thought we needed the show. And I guess that's the difference. It's people making what they think we need as opposed to what we want.
Well, that's a different, yeah, an interesting question as far as a programming slate, right? And decision makers who are putting titles on a board with release dates and then saying, okay, this collectively represents, our diversity agenda. Yeah, I guess.
Well, it's like, oh, it's everyone will talk about, oh, there's this movie. I love this franchise. I love this franchise. But I didn't feel represented. Well, if you didn't feel represented, why did you love the franchise? It feels like a thing that you're being programmed to say now, like you're being told to feel now, because it was something that I won't say didn't exist, but certainly wasn't the cultural touch point that it needed to be. The other thing I will say is the reason I will focus this primarily on writing is because I'm no stranger to bad writing. My favorite series of all time is the Hellraiser film series. And most of those are terrible movies. Terrible for a whole host of variety of reasons, none of which include agenda. So, like, I know what a bad movie is. I've seen lots of them. I know what a good movie is. I've seen some of them. But, like, it just becomes frustrating. Like, I don't even mind. It's like, I have yet to see Black Panther. And mind you, Black Panther was actually one of my favorite comic book characters growing up. My grandpa had a bunch of the old comics from like the 60s at his house, and I'd always go through them. And that was one of the characters that was just always super fun to me. But I was also told repeatedly during the marketing of that film, this movie's not for me because I'm a white guy. And I will
I didn't feel
continue
that
to
way
never
from
give
the previews.
Oh, I've definitely felt that way from their marketing. From all of the people going on TV and saying, don't go to the theaters on opening night. This isn't your moment. This is ours. Okay.
Well, but that's not a trailer. I didn't hear any of that bullshit. I don't know what you're.
No, but that's the online marketing. That's how they're talking about the movie, trying to get people.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's a weird gray area. You know what I mean?
Maybe I'm not going to say that like I'm not being a vindictive cunt, because I am a vindictive cunt, at least as far as my pop
There you
culture
go.
goes.
All right. Fair enough.
I'll own it. Fuck them.
Well, but no, I guess that to me is putting a weird blanket on top of what the storytellers and filmmakers were trying to accomplish. You know what I mean? So, like, why would you take it out on them? Just go see the fucking story that they made, and decide what you think of it.
Honestly, I'm kind of in some ways a bit of a pushover in that, like, okay, you don't want me to go see something, then I won't go see it.
No, but but again, the storytellers aren't the ones telling you not to see it.
Do I have any shortage of shit that I could watch?
I no, but I hear you. I guess maybe it's the question of like, who do you think is discouraging you from going to see a movie that you give a shit about?
I guess in this case, I believe that there are certain social things that people would like to put in place. And okay, fuck you. I don't want that. I don't want whatever your agenda is or why you're telling me this. Okay, fine. I'll take you to the letter on it. Because yeah, their intention is to promote black people. Now, they got dangerously close, if not jumped over the line, on discrediting white people in their way of doing that, which was frustrating. Also, more frustrating for someone who's in a mixed family to watch people trying to stoke racial division in the way that it's been stoked in the past couple of years. So that's something that's always top of mind for me, because in the past 5 years, I definitely feel less safe being in a mixed family than I did 10 years ago.
Is a push for pride, whether it's specific to race or gender or sexual identity, is a push for pride in and of itself meant to put others down?
Honestly, I think pride is a stupid idea across the board. It's one of the 7 deadly sins for a reason.
Yeah, except when people have been marginalized and told that they're it's to me it's a correcting, it's a pendulum swing, right, where it's if you've been told that you're less than, then the idea of encouraging somebody to be up on a pedestal is maybe an overcorrection, right? But it is still something that I think is designed to level things off where it lands back in a normal space.
It won't. And there lies the issue: is that it's only going to keep pushing it. The concept in and of itself is just going to keep sides fighting. You're going to have your whites and blacks are different at all costs. And so it's not the world that we grew up in. We're all trying to be equal. We're trying to own the other side.
But if I'm not the marginalized group, I feel like I have a limited perspective on how judgy I want to be about being like, hey, this is too pushy. It's like, I don't fucking know. I'm not the one having the problem. I'm the one who's being told there's a problem. So I assume my job is to listen and try to be cooperative, because I want to be kind to people, and help them out.
Well, being kind is okay. Well, is it being kind to tell people that they're never going to do anything because the world hates them? No, you're not solving any of their problems. You're making it less likely that they'll solve their own problems. As a daughter who's as having a black daughter, the last thing in the world I would tell her is that you can't do anything. You can do any goddamn thing you want. Are there going to be people who put obstacles in the way for a whole host of reasons? Absolutely. But it's your job to get over them. No one else is coming to save you. You have to do that yourself. Teaching them to keep kids anything other than that is just crippling them.
Right, but just to not get totally off the rails here, what is it about Black Panther's celebration of blackness and black culture that you feel like in any way is somehow a message to your daughter that she can't do what she wants in life in America?
Oh no! I mean, aside from the fact that it was a movie about a black ethnostate, which is I disagree with ethnostates in any function, whether or not they're white or black, but definitely part of the message. It's okay to be in a black ethnostate, just not a white one. I guess, I'd even argue in so much that fetishization of black culture. It looked very. One of the things they always talk about, like the hip hop drums that open the doorways and shit like that. It's like this feels more like a white person's representation of black culture than any black culture I've ever been around. So it's a lot of that.
Well, except that it wasn't, as I understand it, in terms of every department from the, costumes, music. Well, maybe not the music, actually, but I think that was a European guy. But if you've got, again, a team of black storytellers who are assembled for this reason, and they're saying, no, we're trying to bring in the fabrics and aesthetics and rhythms and
I've actually yet to hear that. Most of what I've heard from every creator who's ever worked with Disney is they'll never do it again because their ideas like that were overlooked by the committee of Disney to make the movie that they wanted to make. Part of the whole casting of directors that Disney is accused of doing. Like they put in someone who looks the part and then they don't let them do anything. I think it was at the what was the second Captain Marvel? Was it Captain Marvel?
yeah, the Marvels. It's fun.
Yeah, the
It's a fun
Marvels.
movie.
You listen to some of like what that director has had to say about her experience working with Disney. It's pretty bad. Anyways, this is going way off the rails.
Yeah, I don't remember who made that movie. I mean, it's interesting when I like seeing, in the same way that I feel like studios do with actor and actress talent, I think they do take director or writer talent in the same way, and they'll pluck somebody out of like the indie space or somebody who's had some level of success and give them like a big blockbuster opportunity. And in a way, that's not even all that new, right? Like that, like winning an Oscar usually meant that you were in like a summer blockbuster the next year, right? That's been kind of a weird pattern for a long time where somebody gets a little bit of like recognition and then the system tries to pull them in. And some people get empowered by that and become maybe the artists that they were born to be in a certain kind of way, you know?
I was just going to say, James Gunn is a beautiful example of someone who managed to work in the big studio system. Now, one of my favorite directors.
The Russo brothers, right, did an amazing job. The Russo brothers did an awesome job. And they started off doing the Battle of Shaker Heights right here in town. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Now, great examples of people that did not work out so well. Have you ever watched the documentary on the making of Island of Dr. Moreau?
Oh, yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it.
And the complete and utter, like, that man, like, is awesome. Have you ever watched his early stuff?
No, I mean, watching that documentary got me very interested, but I didn't go out and watch it.
From a science fiction perspective, dude, it's all so very good and super interesting. And then I even love the stuff that he did after, like that. Like I personally, as a Lovecraft fan, was a huge fan of the Color Out of Space that he did with Nicolas Cage. I thought it was super fun, wild, and very like the best interpretation of what that movie is about that you could have possibly done.
Oh, it's odd. Like
But it took him 30 years to get back to like making movies.
I forgot that was the same dude. I couldn't finish that movie because it crosses my weird cruelty line. Where I just don't dig watching people suffer in certain ways, and it was too. I don't know. Yeah, that one rubbed me the wrong way. But that doesn't always mean poor quality filmmaking. Just because I get the ickies.
Oh no, dude, it's part of why I enjoyed it is because it poked at things that make you feel unsettled as a human being. Like its ability to do that, like it for me, it towed that line very well. Like I genuinely felt discomfort doing it.
Yeah, it's like I do like going to that place, but there still ends up being limits. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, no. My wife doesn't watch the same movies I do for the same reason. She hates suffering and like seeing it even in like a pantomimed version, like in a film, is it's just not for her.
But it's not inherently violence, and it's not. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. There's a specific shade of it that I know when I see it, and I don't like to see it.
For me, I think it was just like the body horror of that movie was like even shades past anything I think I've ever seen. you know,
Like I loved
in
Mandy as far as like modern Nick Cage stuff.
oh, the Mandy's amazing
Mandy
too.
is sad and heartbreaking and brutal at times, right? But it is a fucking masterpiece, and it's just it's this amazing roller coaster. What's up?
But that's written by the guy who did the
I haven't seen that Beyond the Black Rainbow. Yeah.
Beyond the Black Rainbow is awesome too. If you like Mandy, it's a more how would I put this? It's like a more thoughtful, slower version of that. Like it gets into more up in your head kind of stuff. As opposed to like part of Mandy is just visceral, like a man unleashing visceral violence on the people that destroyed something for him. And there's also the element that I love of it.
You mentioned Olivia Colman. I just rewatched The Favorite last night, which is a movie I really, really love. Have you seen that one?
No, it's about
Olivia Colman is the queen, and what's Daniel Craig's wife's name? She's a wonderful, wonderful actress in her own right. That was in like the Mummy movies. Rachel Weisz, right? And Emma Stone, and that guy who's new Lex Luthor, and was in Nosferatu and stuff like that.
okay. I like him. He's done some Nicholas Hoult for record, but he's done some wild.
Yes, yeah, he's fun, man. He's a lot of fun. So the favorite.
He did a really good horror movie a couple years ago. Was stupid long. I want to say it was almost 3 hours long. I think it was like wellness or the getting well or something like that, and it was bonkers crazy. Not the movie I expected either.
Yeah, no, been slowly creeping up in roles where he's getting to a point now where his involvement in a thing is like, oh, like it's a bonus check mark for me. I've seen him, turn in some work that I like.
I'll ask the question: how does he do as Luthor? There's a presence that I like. I don't feel like he has for that role, but then again, for me, I'm a purist. I like Gene Hackman. I think it's hard to beat Gene Hackman as that character.
You know, this would be fairly mild spoilers, as it's, let's say, the first 10 minutes of the movie. Which I'll get mildly spoilery to say. One thing that was immediately exciting to me is that the opening of the movie is the trailer you've seen. That whistle where he's all beaten up in the snow and whistling for his dog, that's the beginning of the movie. And you're just like, oh, I love it. It's always my favorite thing when everything that's in the trailers is happening in like the first half hour, and you're like, nice, there's like a proper movie left ahead, like, but Lex Luthor is presented as, he's in this like control room, and he's built an evil Superman that he's programmed with a series of fighting moves. So it's like, he's like the ultimate gamer who's sitting there controlling this, this battle droid thing, to fight Superman, where he's just calling out shots from the control room, sort of almost like Modern Warfare-ish. You know what I mean? Like he's fighting this battle, but not with his own hands. So yeah, it was. There's a lot of stuff in there that takes. Really, that's one of the best things about a new Batman movie, a new anything movie, especially of the ones that have been around forever, like Superman is getting just to see the little twists on the Batmobile, the design of the suit, you know what I mean? Like, in this case, the Fortress of Solitude, right? Like, oh, hey, that's Bradley Cooper as Jor-El, made me laugh every time, but yeah, there's some funny stuff.
I mean, yeah, I guess I like seeing it in we'll say, the visual elements, especially. Yeah, it's always cool. Like you said, the costume, the Batmobile, things like that. I have difficulty when they're like doing things to characters that I see as like being destructive to the characters, even if yes, you're taking your creative license. It's like I get the impression that he feels like a very emo Superman, which is to me not how I would ever. This is what I'm getting from the trailers I've seen, and to me, doesn't feel like Superman. Like he's supposed to be the embodiment of hope, I guess.
I would say that comment from the trailers, actually, I would agree with way more than I would say is true of the portrayal in the movie. But you're right. The trailers weren't great, to be honest. I wasn't thrilled to see it based on the trailers. I was thrilled to see it because I absolutely trust James Gunn, period. Right. And, I really liked the Superman when it was all said and done, in a way that nothing in the trailers had gotten me excited about his portrayal or anything like that. But
see, and I guess, and that maybe that's the difference for me, is that I, thanks to Jordan Peele, can no longer trust a director like that, because the way he started sniffing his own farts after Get Out, like, ruined whatever future he had as a director. He hasn't put out anything even decent since Get Out, and even like Get Out is tainted by like him.
I fucking love Us, and I love Nope, and I can't wait to see what he does next. And he's the best. What, I was excited. My daughter came back from she's turned 16 tomorrow, actually. She was at like a big high school party, gathering or whatever, and Us was the movie that they ended up putting on, and I was all like, really? Like, that movie's not even that new, and I don't think of it being that popular, and like, I love that movie. And the idea that was a thing that like a bunch of 16-year-olds were excited about and interested in, like 7-8 years after it came out, I was like, oh, cool. Good to know. Good to know that that one's still creeping its way through the culture. I have questions about that movie, but it doesn't take away from the experience. There's some things at the ending that I find confusing in terms of trying to interpret, but I don't ultimately care about that entirely when judging the experience of a movie, in part because I've been such a lifelong David Lynch fan, right? And being part of the experience of being a David Lynch fan is comfort with a lack of narrative resolution. Where you're saying, no, I'm cool with the medium of film in part being about this gut level, almost dream logic sense of saying, yes, no, I know it doesn't make logical sense, but it does have an emotional truth that hits me in the right sort of ways, even if it can't always be articulated. When art can just provoke a reaction like that, at that moment, I'm not especially concerned with author intent. And in fact, like Lynch, I would prefer that they shut up about it and just let me enjoy whatever weird experience I'm having and not try to sit there and be like, well, no, what this means is that it was a symbol that meant this is like, shh.
Well, no, and like I've never had a problem with Lynch. I think for me it was just like watching within a 6-month period, like Jordan Peele being a very humble guy, directed his first horror movie, people really liked it. 6 months later, his hair's grown out. It's all got the bushy gray, and he's talking as if I'm a auteur of my entire life, and you just can't wait till the next biscuit I throw out there. And then the next biscuit he throws out there is Us, which to me, like, you have issues that to me was just utterly forgettable. Like, there was nothing about it that I found interesting. Nope, on the other hand, I thought could have been interesting. Most of my reason I hated that was I thought his freaking, I won't say casting, but the way he wrote some of those characters in there was just like, how am I expected to give a shit about these characters when they're awful people? And most notably, the main character's sister. Like, the main character gets pushed aside for like all the important parts of the movie for his crappy sister, who I wish would have died in like first 5 minutes of the movie, so that he could have some like cool hero moments.
I don't know. I really liked the brother sister dynamic, and I was tickled that to me it's also a really rare relationship to even see on film. That if there's going to be a male female like dynamic duo sort of setup like that, that if anything they're going to be romantic, partners or something. Yeah, a sibling relationship of that sort. Just that detail I thought was fun.
And I guess maybe in that is that for me it didn't feel like a brother sister dynamic. It didn't feel real to me. Like, I have a sister, I have brothers, and their relationship was just felt weird. So maybe it's just my relationships. Maybe mine are weird. I don't know.
No, that's okay. Obviously, again, a subjective experience. And the one part that, of course, is hilarious is the notion of him adopting the mantle of serious director. But even that I can certainly empathize with and forgive, where I sit there and look and say, yeah, you're coming out of the comedy world and you have these ambitions. And going back and watching Key and Peele, there's any number of the shorts that they do where it's like, oh, he is playing around with form. You know what I mean? That it's obvious he's a student of film, and it's obvious at any given time that he's practicing stuff. You know what I mean? He's playing around with going like, yeah, and not dissimilar to when I look at Tarantino's body of work, and something like Jackie Brown was him going, ooh, I'm a writer. Yes, I'm a great writer, but I'd like to adapt a novel. Ooh, okay. I'm going to now do an action movie. You know what I mean? And he makes Kill Bill. And it's like, I don't know. Some of that stuff like Soderbergh, I know, has set a challenge really to Steven Soderbergh's one of the only directors who is his own director of photography, right? I don't remember if you and I talked about my discovery that Bob Richardson is like the guy behind everything I love, He's the guy that shoots all of Scorsese's movies, Tarantino movies, Oliver Stone movies, and you start going, oh my God, like Natural Born Killers and Casino really do kind of look alike in a way that I like never realized, but it's like it is the same guy who's directing the lighting and the visual look of a thing is defined in many ways by the cinematographer. Soderbergh is his own DP, and I've heard him say before that he doesn't want to do anything in a new movie that he's ever done before. He wants to set out every single time to try to like create a brand new look that he's never tried before, to like have a style that is ultimately anti-style in nature, right? Intentionally anti-style, right? And I don't know. I think that both are cool. I think that he's got a really amazing, weird, diverse body of work that indeed kind of refuses to be pinned down because he's all over the place. And then I do like people that have a style where you can count on them in the music realm. You think of 311, a new 311 album is going to be a 311 album, right? And, in a way, a new Wes Anderson movie is going to be a new Wes Anderson movie after these many years. He's a guy too that I think he might think he's trying something different more than he is with any given project, where he's like, no, this time I'm doing something totally new. I'm doing a spy thriller. And you're like, yeah.
But we're talking a difference with him. It's because the visual style overtakes whatever is underneath it to like a huge degree. Like, yes, he could be trying a spy thriller, but it's still going to look, and because of that look, feel like a Wes Anderson movie. It's, and in that, it's fun to kind of pull elements from something else to see what they look like in that. It's like, can we envision, this movie was made in the 20s versus made in the 2000s. It's going to give you a different movie. The same kind of thing, no matter what movie or age you're pulling something. Say, I'd like to see what it would be if it was a Wes Anderson film, because the style of Wes Anderson is just so important and so like visceral that it's going to function almost exactly the same. Like there's definitely been movies like, what would Wes Anderson do with this? Like, that would be interesting.
But it's funny because as I think of that comparison between Wes Anderson and 311, the other thing that's held true about both is that with their later stuff, right, when you're getting to album 10, 11, 12, movie 10, 11, 12, right, it's almost easy to miss what's going on a first listen because it's so familiar. That I've found that like my third or fourth viewing of like Asteroid City was way more, enjoyable than the first one, which I liked, but I had a hard time getting past the surface and the sameness of it. But as I go back and revisit it, it's chock full of scenes and moments where I'm like, whoa, I've seen this movie before, but like I didn't see this. And this is a really cool thing in here. And yeah, with 311, I'll listen to a brand new album and it's like, okay, new 311 album, cool. And maybe there's a couple songs I like, but then something will show up like in the shuffle just as like an isolated track, and it'll be like, oh, that's got something to it, like, and they were trying a thing there, like, whoa. Live picks can do that too, right? Where a band will showcase something from a record that like totally passed you by, and then in that fresh context, in the right moment, you just sort of go like, oh, there it is. It's weird when works of art reveal themselves slowly, I guess.
I like it kind of in the reverse direction also, though. Like when I'm sitting here listening to this live cut of In the Fade by Queens of the Stone Age, and I'm going, how the hell did this ever become what's on the record? Because it's just the context of the live setting for me does not work for that song. Like it removes the atmosphericness of that song. It's one of my favorite songs in the world on the record. And every time I've seen it done live, it's like it's not right. It's just it's not there. It's almost like listening to a cover band play a mediocre version of a song. Now, doesn't discredit him because those are still the dudes that put, Joshua was still the guy that put that piece together. And it is still amazing on record. So I can't discredit. It's like you found it. And maybe it's more interesting to me that like out of what is on stage, something I'm not totally in love with, in the record, he managed to make it into something that I love. So it's like that experience in reverse almost.
There is a sense too, and I get this from him of he's still inhabiting the songs he's playing. Maybe not every single one, but for the most part, I feel like in the moment that he's performing it, he's inhabiting it. I'll make again the music to movies comparison, and you talk about like a method actor, right? Where there's the guys who switch it on and off, and you know what I mean, like and they say action and they're in it, and that's its own professionalism and craft. And it's not that one's better than the other, but it does strike me where like, man, when he's singing these, he's like living the experience again, right? And so I feel like a song like In the Fade, it's like, yeah, it might just be something that like gets played because he wants to sing it as much as anything else. You know what I mean?
Well, in particular, that's actually a Mark Lanigan song, but
It doesn't mean that he doesn't love it as a performer. It's not like it was a number one hit. They don't have to play it any night. Why play it?
well, and how much of it for him is the same thing. Why we all would love to see that song because I'd love to see Mark Lanigan sing more. Like maybe that's all it was. They put that one on the bill to give Mark more numbers on the set because who the hell doesn't want to watch Mark Lanigan sing more?
I didn't really even know the band in that era. I've seen some stuff through YouTube, but like Clockwork was the album that turned me on to Queens of the Stone Age.
And to me, like Clockwork was this beautiful and almost the opposite of like up until that point, Queens of Stone Age had been, I won't say formulaic, but pretty, you could expect what the records were going to sound like. And then out of the blue, like Clockwork comes out and you're like, from the first listen, it was like, oh, this is not the Queens of the Stone Age I remember. I mean, there's elements of them in there, but Josh is doing something important here. Like whatever he's reaching for, God bless him. I hope he finds it because this is something else.
Keep Your Eyes Peeled is a real thing to put as an opening number, right? In terms of that sludgy pace, compared to everything, that had come prior.
But it's also, that one is also an album from beginning to end. Like, the other ones worked as albums, but they were still definitely collections of songs. That thing is just one giant piece in its entirety. So, anyways, we have gone way longer than I allot for time for these episodes for editing. And yet again, we have managed not to talk about what we planned on talking about. I thought last week it was going to be all about the recording studio. This week we were going to be talking about collectibles, and I don't even remember how we. I don't even remember how we didn't talk about collectibles. But
well, it'll be easy to remember in the future because it's always right behind us both.
Yeah, I got my wife was asking me. It's like, well, did DVDs and like CDs count as collectibles? And I'm like, well, they're to me. I had their collections. Why wouldn't they?
Of course. And it's about the relationship you have with it. But we'll talk more about such things in the future.
How could we not? So, for those of you out there watching, paying attention, being amused by me and Brian's very, very strange movements from one side of the brain to the other and twisting about, thank you for listening to us. Anything you want to say, Brian, as we bid adieu to our guests?
I'm just excited to keep going through all my bonus features from my sweet collection. But No, we'll have to talk about that more. I hope you have a great week. Wish my daughter good luck getting her driver's license tomorrow. So that'll mark this in time, I suppose.
Nice. For me, I'm just trying to get through the week for Midwest Peace and Liberty Fest. The
Awesome.
the event that I spent all year trying to put together so I can go and give speeches on stage and stuff. I'm doing one on community building and the podcaster this year.
Okay. Well, cool, man.
So,
Exciting. Good luck.
so take it easy, everyone.